So this is a quick tutorial of how to make a pattern. So you're making a pattern for your finger puppets so that you can cut everything the right size and shape. So this is just for a simple pattern for some, like a finger puppet, but you can use this for other parts of it as well. So what I'm doing here is drawing it big enough so that I'm thinking about the seam allowance. So that is the space in between the stitching and the edge. So I recommend drawing it larger than you need it, even if you're going to stitch on the outside, because you can always stitch a little further in and then trim it. So there's two types of scissors. We have paper scissors and we have fabric scissors. All the fabric scissors in our classroom are the ones with the orange and black handles. So please use the fabric scissors on fabric only, not on paper. And so then you're going to cut out your pattern, and you don't have to cut the whole thing out. In fact, it's easier if you leave some paper the first time you use it, and then you're going to double up the fabric if you need to. That way it's nice that they're the same size. And then you take your pattern and you can pin it right to your felt. So, or whatever fabric it is, and you can use that extra paper all around the edge to pin. So be sure to pin like in between grabbing the paper and the fabric, both layers of the fabric. And really the pins are just there to hold it still. There's nothing special about how you pin it, as long as they're not in the way of the scissors. And then I can cut right on the edge of this because I know I made it larger than it needs to be. So then the rest of that's scrap, and now I have two that are equal size. So then before I sew them together, I want to work on them. So I'm just like putting these two dots on here to show you that this would be the side that I might make a cat face on or whatever it is. Do all of that before you sew them together. So there's two ways to do this. You could sew them right size together so that you flip them inside out then, and you don't see the stitching. That's like mainly how your clothing is made. So all the seams are on the inside. With the puppets, if you want to use some stitching to kind of embellish them, you can also sew on the outside. And then in that case, you could stitch them together. It's still nice to kind of work on the two things separate and then sew them together, just because if you're painting, it might soak through to the second layer. And then what I'm showing you in this demonstration is how to sew it with embroidery floss. So the embroidery floss is very thick, much thicker than thread. And so this is a single strand of it, and then I just put it through one time, and then rather than tie it ahead of time, I tie it once it's through. You do one whole stitch, tie that stitch, and then keep going. So then, and because if you make a mistake, you can always cut just that one stitch, and you can pull it through and start over if you need to. So the whole key here is to thread or to sew this so that it's neat and even around the edge. So if I'm not stuffing this, I'm not trying to turn it inside out, I want these stitches to show, I just have to be really mindful of the distance they are from each other, the distance in between them, how long each stitch is, because if I want them to look even, that's, how you do that. Sorry, this camera angle is going off the camera for a second there. But the whole idea here, it's funny, I just kind of like missed. So the whole idea here is that you have a nice even line of stitching around the outside. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do this. You can stitch it on the outside, like I said, or you can stitch this so that it's something you can turn inside out. I will make another video that shows you how to stitch it on the inside and turn it inside out using the same pieces. And then if you are stitching on the inside, you can go a little further and then you can trim the extra. So it's better to have more fabric than less. And then, I'll make another video that shows you that inside outside business. And in class I showed a couple different types of stitches, which I'm happy to show you in class.